Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, everyone is here. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how are you on this Tuesday? We're recording on a Tuesday?
My week is all thrown off.
Mine as well. Last night when you didn't come over, I was like, what is time? I didn't know what was happening.
Just like something's missing.
Yes.
Something I can't put my finger on.
I looked and I saw that the moon was still in the sky and that water still made me less thirsty. And I thought, that's not it. It's got to be something else.
But there's a reason we're recording on Tuesday.
Lay it on me.
It's because today was Nintendo's E3 presentation.
Did they call it a Direct?
They did.
They did call it a Nintendo Direct. We are going to break it down and talk about every piece of all of it. But before we get into that, a couple things. Mark, we love reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, do we?
We love getting them. We tolerate writing them. I do regularly write podcast reviews.
You know, since I've started doing a podcast,
Yeah.
I do write podcast reviews.
What a nice courtesy of you, Mark. Everyone should be as courteous as Mark.
Because I know how much I appreciate when people write them for us.
Mhm.
And so it's like, oh yeah, I will totally do it for the podcasts that I enjoy.
It costs you nothing.
Mhm.
It makes you feel good to say good things about a thing you like. So we would appreciate that. We did reach our 50th review.
It's an E3 miracle.
It's an E-three-rical. I hated that. I'm sorry.
I feel like we have to make that a thing, like every E3.
That we'll just try to get E-three-ricals. Okay, great. I love it. Unfortunately, there's no text on this.
Yeah, so it's an anonymous review,
Anon.
but thank you for leaving it.
Thank you for leaving that review. We much appreciate it. If you would please review us and if you haven't done it yet, please do it. We love it. We love you. If you want to follow us on social media, on Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell. The show is at Nincart Society. And we are on Facebook. The Facebook page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. I am at E3 this week, actually out there on the show floor. So if you want to see, me tweeting dumb pictures of me with Ratchet and Clank. Don't know why Clank wasn't there, but I got my picture taken with Ratchet. You can find that sort of stuff on my Twitter feed right now. And for the rest of the week, here's one more thing. If you are in the Los Angeles area and don't want to appear on an episode of Wheel of Fortune, but do want to see a live recording of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we are doing that tomorrow.
That's right. Today when you're listening to it.
That's right.
Wednesday. And Wednesday only.
Wednesday only, 8:30 at the Impro in Los Angeles. That is on Vermont and north of Hollywood.
Yeah. Google it. It's why Google exists.
That's why Google
exists. Or you can go to our Facebook page, I assume.
Yeah, and you can
the
find
event is listed there.
You can find the event there, and now that I'm saying it, I'm going to put it also in our. It'll be on Twitter as well.
So it's 8:30 at the Impro tonight, Wednesday. $5 at the door.
That's right, and we are going to be there with the Unranked podcast. It's going to be a fun show. There will be much silliness. I can practically guarantee that. Mark, are you ready to get into the matter at hand and discuss Nintendo's E3 presentation?
Let's do it.
Broad strokes first. Super excited about this? A little less excited? How are we feeling going into it? How do we feel like immediately after?
I had successfully hyped myself up for this E3.
Yes.
As I feel like
we do every year.
We do every E3.
And for every presentation, and for every hint of a presentation, we hype ourselves up.
I thought it was fine. I left a little bit, or not left, but like,
You were left a little disappointed.
Yeah, not even like disappointed, more just like uh I don't even know how to explain it, cuz like I felt like it was a solid showing and it was a reasonable showing. I just felt a little like perplexed, I guess. Like a little bit like, "Oh, that's it for this year?"
Right. I mean, I think what this thing was a Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Direct.
Clearly, cuz it was
That
like 20 minutes.
right. It was like half of the presentation was the new Smash Brothers game, and then the rest was sort of just like on there because they were like, well, we can't just do Smash. It has to be like the whole slate for the year. And we got some announcements of new stuff. We got confirmation of a Fire Emblem game, which was also not coming out this year. Um, and a bunch of other stuff like that. But I like this thing was primarily a vehicle for information on Smash Brothers.
It just felt like, or it feels like, looking at the rest of Nintendo's 2018 as we know it,
Mm-hmm.
that it's missing like one more, not even like AAA like big release, but one more like solid meaty like like even that rumored new Super Mario Brothers collection or U
Yeah.
or whatever, just like one more something like that.
Right. Or, like that Star Fox Grand Prix, or, I mean, the Yoshi, which was evidently pushed back to 2019. Yeah, they're just like all these like little half steps that I feel like could complete it all the way, and then we would know everything that we know, and it'd be like, yes, that is a year that can follow up Nintendo's 2018.
I mean,
I'm not sure that we're there right now.
right, and it's weird to say that with a new Pokemon game,
Right? Or like 30 of them.
and Super Smash Brothers coming at the end of the year. So they obviously have heavy hitters before the holidays. I don't know, it just feels like at this point, the months between now and November are just like fine.
Yeah, I mean, not to harp on it too much, but we've got the Octo expansion coming. We've got Octopath Traveler. We've got Mario Tennis Aces. Like, there's stuff in there and stuff that I'm like excited to play.
Yeah, and there's stuff that I forgot was coming, like The World Ends With You.
Yeah,
And so that shows up for a little bit in the direct, and you're like, oh, right, that's coming. And I'm looking forward to playing that on Switch, but it's also a game that is available on lots of platforms at the moment.
Absolutely.
So it's not that there aren't games to play on Switch and that there won't be a lot of games coming. It's I don't know. It wasn't bad. I wasn't like disappointed. It just felt like one piece was missing.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And there's like a little bit of that like excitement of newness that's missing too, like for in a couple of ways, right? Like there's the one where okay, like here's a new Mario Party game, but it's like, okay, that's just like another Mario Party game. Or like here's Fortnite, okay, I can play Fortnite anywhere. And then even with Smash, even with like the centerpiece, it's like it's a new Smash, but it's kind of like an update of all the games smashed together, a Super Smash Smash. Um, so yeah, it seems like that spark of newness isn't quite there in this presentation.
So all that said,
Yes,
I think
loved it.
Yeah, well, two things to keep in mind before we like go through punch by punch the direct. The first thing is that historically, including last year, Nintendo has a direct in September, and that's when we first learned, like the September direct last year is when we first learned about Doom, Wolfenstein, LA Noire, well, I guess Skyrim we already knew about, but like those like third-party games that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like we learned about those in September. So while at this point I'm not banking on it, the closer we get to September and like rumors of a direct or whatever, I know my hype levels will go up. But there is still possibility of another game that we don't know about being revealed before the end of the year. And two, I think this is just like a good example of like the dangers of announcing games too early. Is really like once a game has been announced, before it's even released, collectively we're all just kind of like over it. So when they talk about that game again,
right,
you're just like, what? We already know about this. Like, why? We want new stuff. We constantly want new stuff, and like to be announced and new information.
Neophilia, the love of the new.
Yeah, we all like suffer from it. And so there's a little bit of that here where it's like, oh, Smash got blown out, but we already knew Smash was coming. The world ends with you. Like they announced the world ends with you in like January, and I was super excited for it, and then I totally forgot about
Right.
it.
Nothing changed in your experience with that game except that you already knew it was coming. And like it's all just I mean, we're way off the reservation at this point, but like so much of this stuff was leaked. We had that that slide of like all these games that were coming to Switch, like Overcooked 2 and like Fortnite.
Great point.
That all came true. And so like when we saw those slides, there's that little bit of like, oh, that's exciting, but also like this is icky and I'm taking it with like a grain of salt. And then when it's actually delivered upon, you're like, okay, I felt icky about it before and now I'm not surprised. Like it's just it's this whole like tornado of like, here is something I should be excited about that I am now bored by.
Right. If you knew like exactly like if we knew nothing about Fortnite and then the first we ever coming to Switch and then the first we ever heard of that was during the Direct and they were like, and it's out tonight.
Yeah,
that's way more
we'd
exciting.
Be so excited
than if like they accidentally pushed the update to the eShop and somebody was able to see the metadata. And so we knew when it was coming out. We knew
the
description.
Coming to Switch?
We knew everything beforehand. And so again, just like this, like desire for newness. As soon as we heard about it, it was like had already been released and we were past it, even though it hadn't happened yet.
Right. I will say in this conference's defense, I watched all of the conferences this year, and let me tell you. The rest of the conferences have turned into nightmare violent slogs of like gunfire and like needless bloodshed. And like, I've got sort of a soft stomach for guns in video games as it is. But like, I had a really hard time getting through the Bethesda conference, getting through the Microsoft conference, because it was like, oh, when Rage is on the screen, Rage 2, I mean, it's like, this is just all shooting people and like laughing about it. And I'm like, I can't with this. And then Nintendo's like, here, you play Mario Party with your friends. And I'm like, there we go.
Yeah, no.
That's my speed.
It's so true. So I bought Doom and enjoyed Doom on Switch. I don't know that I can do Wolfenstein though.
Yeah.
It just seems like a different sort of beast. To your point about it, that sort of violence.
Yeah, I mean, like I can deal with violence when I feel as though the game or the creators have something to say about that violence, or the people enacting that violence, or the society that allows that violence. Which is why I do think The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima look interesting. Because they seem like they are, worlds that are torn apart by their violence and not like relishing it. But yeah, like no way in the world am I going to play Rage 2. It doesn't make any sense to me. Or Gears or whatever.
Right? Yeah. We are way off the reservation at this point. But one thing that I want to just get off my chest.
Yeah. Get it out there
before we move on. Is
Death Stranding
so stupid? That game, everything about that game, so stupid.
It just gets stupider and stupider, I think. Remember last time we were talking about how stupid it is and we were like, baby giving a thumbs up? Stupid. Now, it starts with a baby's butt, and then the baby rolls over and gives you a thumbs up.
Oh my gosh. I can't get over how dumb that game looks.
You can't with it. All right. Should we get into...
Yeah, we should.
Okay, let's get into Nintendo's conference, their Nintendo Direct. We start with Cold Open, a trailer that is for a giant robot mech combat game.
It's a mech, yeah.
And it looks like it's called Demon Ex Machina. Although we are guessing on the pronunciation of all of those words.
But it makes sense, though, that it would be like a play on
Deus Ex Machina.
Yes.
But the X is just the letter X and not EX, which is what it would be in Deus Ex Machina. It is coming to us from Marvelous, and it's coming out in 2019.
Interesting game to kick the presentation off with.
Yeah, I mean, it is obviously a high-energy, like action-packed game, but it is an IP that I don't know anything about. If it is
I'm
an
assuming.
property,
I think
I'm
assuming that it is that it's a new property.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I like about this, even though it's not really a genre that like that interests me is that one of the nice things about the PS4 or other successful platforms is that they have all types of games for all types of people in all types of genres.
A game for all seasons.
Exactly. And I think it's great to see this sort of stuff coming to Switch exclusively, even.
Mm-hmm. And I think the style of the game is interesting and unique and like bold as well. It's got a little bit of like a cell shaded sort of look to it, maybe even looks sort of anime esque. And the soundtrack is like Japanese heavy metal, which is that's a choice. And I can't say that I love it, but it is cool and compelling in its own way. Probably not a game that we're going to be diving into any deeper when it does come out. Speaking of a game that we are probably not going to be diving any deeper
Oh, sorry.
into.
Just
yes,
the last thing I
yes.
want to say about Demon X Machina.
This better be worth blowing that transition, Mark.
It was a great transition. Is that before the presentation, Nintendo was like, it's just gonna be Switch games coming in 2018, and then the first thing they show comes out in 2019.
And it's on your Game Boy instead of the Switch. That's not true. It's out on Switch. Speaking of games that we are probably not going to actually dive into, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 gets a... What are we calling this?
It seems like an expansion.
Torna the Golden Country, out in September of this year. Yeah, it seems like it's an expansion or DLC or like a new edition of the game. It's not a standalone thing, right? No one knows.
Unclear.
I don't think we have any information about what this actually is. I picked up Xenoblade Chronicles 2 when it first came out, sort of just on curiosity, played it for about 2 or 3 hours. I was like, oh, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be, and I do not like it. And I can't say that this necessarily, that the fact that there is more content in a 200-hour RPG doesn't necessarily make me want to go back and look into it. Do you have any kind of reaction to this thing, or?
Just that it makes me feel like for Nintendo developed titles, the rest of the year is looking fairly thin because this appears to be their big September release.
And yeah, that is strange. Next, they moved on to Pokemon Let's Go, which we already know a fair amount about. I guess we learned that the what's the Pokeball controller called?
I can't remember what it's called.
Pokeball Plus or something like that. That it comes with Mew. And did they say that that's the only way to get that Pokemon? Or
that's what it sounded like to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that
so that's you get a free Pokemon by I guess you got to pay for the controller. And the whole game can be played with that controller, which we already knew from the Pokemon event a couple weeks ago. Then we move into a genuine surprise, Super Mario Party. Mario Party is back. Is the Super the new part of that? The normally it's called Mario Party?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about Super Mario Party?
So I think that it looks like a return to form potentially.
Yeah. I would say that it almost looks like Mario Party meets WarioWare. Because some of those mini games that they were showing off were weird and like not the same sort of weird that I expect from Mario Party. There's one where they're all like frying like a square of tofu in a pan, and like just like flipping it around with motion controls, and that feels like a very WarioWare sort of mini game to me. It looks like the characters are moving around game boards separately. They're not all in one big dumb car like they were in the Wii U version. Yeah, I mean, I think they showed off a lot of cool stuff in this trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it feels like it has been 10 years, maybe more than that there was a Mario Party that people were happy with generally. Like, I think they sell decently. And I'm trying to even think, like, if the one on Wii, if that was the first one, if that was when people started to complain about the series. I think it's been a while.
I think for sure. Is there one on GameCube that people like herald as?
I don't know if like herald, but I think like was acceptable. I
tolerated.
guess. But so to me, this kind of looks like it has more thought put into it than
Yeah.
some of the more recent Mario Party releases.
It also just, I mean, and it may just be the way that Nintendo's, advertising it or whatever, but it looks like there are team that you can like play on teams in this. And that some of the mini games seem like maybe a little bit involved. And, are you like playing baseball in it, sort of? Or can you actually develop like a strategy for you and your teammate to like take down the other team? It seems pretty cool and pretty flexible too. We saw one of the mini games where it looked like an overhead sort of view of a like tank battle, and with being done with two Switch consoles laying down on the table, and depending on where they like lined them up, like that affected what like the actual layout of the map they were playing on was, which speaks to that patent that we saw pop up, filed a couple weeks ago, about two Nintendo Switch consoles. Do you remember this thing? Where like the two screens on two separate devices are connected as like one consistent screen. Um, and I think that's super cool.
I also think this title potentially fills a void in the Switch's lineup right now, which is sort of that like mini game, party game type thing that
Absolutely.
1-2 Switch isn't really.
Yeah, and also like kind of fills the role of like the thing that I have in my head for a split second of fantasy of what like Monopoly on Switch could be, where it's like I'm just gonna put this out and we're just gonna play it and it'll be like a game night kind of thing. I do feel like Mario Party can act as a game night sort of thing, which like as adults, that's like the only way to get people to like come over and like just hang out. If you're not gonna go to a movie or a bar or like celebrate someone's birthday or something, like people aren't just coming over unless you're playing a game. And I think that'll be a good one for that.
So this comes out in October,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess has the potential to be big, but I, Mario Party has never been a huge part of my life, and so I don't see it as like a tentpole title.
Yeah, and I think it would be a mistake to consider it as a tentpole title. But I mean, we are starting to get those like titles, and particularly like Mario games that are sort of like coming out and filling out the library. In 10 years, no one's going to be like, what was a great tennis game was Mario Tennis Aces, but we're all going to have fun with it. So, and I think the same is true of Mario Party. Like no one, I don't think anyway, is like, what's a great game is Mario Party, but like, you'll have fun with it and you'll have fun with your friends. Then we break our rules again and see a new 2019 game, one that we sort of knew about already, but not specifically.
We knew a Fire Emblem game was coming.
This is right.
We didn't realize that that Fire Emblem was breaking our 2018 rule, because when it was originally announced with just
a logo
of Fire Emblem,
right, just a non-game specific logo,
back in 2017, it was promised for 2018, and we haven't heard anything since. And so it's a little bit of surprise that this is going to be coming out in spring 2019.
And the name of the game is Three Houses. It seems like it's got a focus. Well, first of all, gone is a lot of the sprite work of previous Fire Emblem games. All of the characters in every mode are 3D models. So even on when you used to play on 3DS or DS or any other system, when you see the world map, it's little sprites on a map. Now everything is 3D models. And it seems like the game has a focus on, or the main character in the trailer keeps referring to like a teacher character that I assume that you play as the teacher. And you see during like various little cutscenes in this game that the character is like coming to you and being like, am I going to work on my axe skills or my sword skills right now? So I will be interested to like find out more about this game. It still seems kind of mysterious to me at the moment. What'd you think of this thing, Mark?
I thought it looked really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Tactical RPGs, or really tactical games of any kind, are tough for me. I'm just not very good at them. And so honestly,
you did mention to me, because the trailer was playing when you came over, you said this trailer makes me wish I was better at Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Right.
If it has like a casual mode, I think I'll be more interested in it.
Yeah. But as it stands, you're like, it's a Fire Emblem game. I know that's not going to be for me.
Pretty much.
It is weird that in 2017 we got both Fire Emblem Heroes and um, Echoes Shadows of Valentia, and got the announcement of Fire Emblem Warriors. And then it's like, okay, now we have to be quiet for a little bit so we can get the new one in 2019.
Is this the first time in like the Switch's life so far that Nintendo has delayed a first party title?
Well, has Yoshi been officially delayed as well,
Yes,
or?
but I feel like that happened in tandem with this, where it was like quietly delayed to 2019.
Yeah, let's count them as co-delayed. Both Fire Emblem and Yoshi, they will share the title. But yeah, it was strange and exciting and kind of surprising that Nintendo wasn't delaying any of these
Yeah,
games.
that they got everything out last year.
Thought for sure that Xenoblade was not going to be out in 2018, and yet there it was. After that, we move on to Fortnite, and again, as discussed, would have been a huge surprise, would have been like a shouting in the room moment if we didn't already know about it, but we knew about it from so many different sources.
Yeah, for like weeks,
Yeah.
if not months, we pretty much knew this game was coming.
Mark, talk to me about Battle Royale games and your relationship with them.
I've never played one, so I'm going to check out Fortnite.
Hey!
Yeah.
I played the very first Battle Royale game I've ever played today at E3, an indie game called Fractured Lands, which is like a Mad Max style game where everyone starts with a vehicle, and that's like the vehicle is supposed to be like, your baby, and you can like put spikes on it and shields and stuff. It was fine, but it was the first time I'd ever played a battle royale game, and made me a little bit interested in Fortnite. And this trailer kind of showed off some of maybe the sillier aspects of Fortnite, which I appreciate because like whenever I see footage of PUBG, this is back to my guns thing, where it's just like this is too crazy and too violent, and like I don't know that it looks like fun to me. But Fortnite is colorful and silly in still a violent, over the top kind of way. Next, we moved on to Overcooked 2. Mark, I am very happy about this.
Yeah, the first Overcooked on the US eShop has been like one of the top selling titles since it was released last year.
Yep. And they're saying more recipes, more playable characters, online co-op.
Yeah, super excited about that.
That is exciting. I think if you're not in the room to yell at someone and tell them that you hate them and that they're stupid for dropping the buns, the game will lose some of its juice.
I think if the Switch had a better like voice chat solution,
it doesn't, and it never will.
That would lubricate that a little bit. But yeah, no, I totally agree. Any game like this, like it'd be like playing snipper clips online. Like doable and probably fun, but not as fun as when you can like stand up from the couch, and, like go over the TV and point and be like,
you idiot!
That right there, dummy. It's a burger, obviously.
Look at the shape, you dummy.
Super excited about the new chefs.
Yep.
Like that octopus-looking one.
There is definitely an Octopus Cthulhu-looking guy. Yes. And the robot is returning, so I've got no complaints about this one.
Yeah, it comes out super soon as well, August 7th.
Then next we move on to another multiplayer experience that we talked about last week, Killer Queen Black. So Killer Queen, as we discussed on a previous episode, is a 5 versus 5 arcade cabinet thing that has become like a competitive phenomenon, usually just in arcades and bars and stuff. And
it's like an indie arcade game, which is
is so crazy. And I mean, there are only like 50 of them in the world or something. And this is the first time the game in some form is coming to consoles. So Reggie said that it is designed from the ground up for a console experience. Coming first to Switch is what we know. It is not 5-on-5, it is 4-on-4, but a lot of the same objectives remain in place. We don't necessarily know, do we, like how the multiplayer of it is going to work? Like,
I don't think so.
Is it all do they have to be on the same network? Is it online play? How, can you play with if you just get 4 people together in one room, can they play against 4 people, on the other side of the country, or what? But it still looks like a super fun, cool game. And if it means that we can actually play it in a city that doesn't have, because there is no Killer Queen game in Los Angeles. There is no arcade cabinet in this city. So if we wanted to play, we'd have to go up to San Francisco or maybe down to San Diego. I'm not sure. I didn't do all the research on this, Mark. But at some point in 2018, we'll be able to just play it on our Switches.
This is another one that if it had come out of the blue, it would have been so weird and interesting. But instead we knew about it for a couple of weeks. So
I feel like it's still sort of weird and interesting.
It is, but it's less like a lightning bolt.
Right. We still a little bit of that ick. Then next they moved on to Hollow Knight, which is Hollow Knight. It's got all of the previous DLC and upgrades and whatever. And available now.
That was one trend throughout E3 that I thought was really fun, is just at pretty much every conference there were 1 or 2 games.
Yeah,
they were
why don't you just play it now?
Yeah, it's it's out, and I like that.
Was the Fallout Shelter thing? Did that also happen this week?
Yeah, that happened at the Bethesda conference, and it was out that night.
Right. So that's we may have it up in a list of the other games that are coming out. But Fallout Shelter now available on your Switch, and just like it is on all other platforms, it's free with lots of microtransactions too.
Although my understanding, I downloaded it for Switch when it was announced, and I have been playing it a little bit. It's not the sort of game where you're going to play it for hours at a time. You'll play it, you set it down, then you can come back and check on it. From what I've read online from people who have played through to the end game, it's fairly generous in that you don't need to spend a bunch of money on microtransactions, and they're definitely not front and center in the game.
Yeah, sure. Well, great. So would you recommend? You said you played it a little bit when you.
Yeah, I think I've put maybe 2 hours into it total. Yeah, it's super fun. And it's free, so there's no.
Yeah. Look, there's no risk here.
Yeah, there's no risk, and if you like the world of Fallout, it's just kind of a fun, silly version of that.
Right, and I think one of the things that's really cool about it is that the whole thing is in that sort of Fallout propaganda art style. And you miss the dissonance of that and the actual real world horror of a Fallout game. But then, it just means you get to be charming the whole time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Then we moved on to Octopath Traveler, which, as we all know, is coming out on July 13th. I don't think we got any new information about the game, right?
No, not the game itself. Only that a brand new demo is coming on June 14th, and your progress from the demo save will carry over into the main game, which I don't think was true of the initial demo.
I think that's definitely got to not be true of the original demo, just because I would not be surprised if the events that take place in those demos don't actually happen in this game. They feel very isolated and singular experiences for sure.
Octopath Traveler, temperature on it?
Oh, hi. I'm very excited to play this game. It looks, it looks like Final Fantasy III again, which I'm there. I'm on board for it. Are you also?
Yeah, I'm excited to try it out. I guess the one thing I'm hoping, and I don't think it's going to be a thing, is that it's a little less saturated than the demo was.
Yeah, the demo was very monochromatic in that way. It was brown and then less brown. That's the color palette. Then we move on to a sizzle reel of a whole bunch of stuff. Mark, do you want to maybe just take us through these? Or?
Sure. So the first one was Starlink Battle for something, I think is Atlas is the subtitle.
Maybe we need to throw the brakes on this one for a little bit too, because this was shown off at the Ubisoft conference. And was revealed to have a tie-in with Star Fox. So
that's exclusive to the Switch version.
That's right. So that means that Star Fox is in this game, and so Starlink is a Toys to Life experience, right?
I don't think so.
Or it just has toys?
I think it just has toys. And
question mark.
Yeah. I don't know that there's more to it than that. This is such a weird game to me. I don't really know what to think of it.
I'm not even really sure what it is. Is it an arcade-style space shooter?
No, it seems more like a No Man's Sky type thing.
Look, we don't have enough information about this. Because Mark and I just pitched two opposite games. But I can say that my interest in Starlink was at a 0, and now that it's got Star Fox in it, I would say it's at like a 70 out of 100.
That's a pretty big jump.
That's pretty. It's an enormous jump. It's like a 10,000% jump.
Next,
Plus
they showed
70.
off a little bit of Arena of Valor coming this fall.
That's a MOBA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that apparently is huge, like in China or something.
Just huge outside of this room?
Yeah, it's published by Tencent.
There you go.
Minecraft comes out on June 21st.
What does that mean?
So I think this is the
Is this
better,
the better together version?
And it'll be released physically finally, so you can buy it in stores and stuff. They poor Sushi Striker. They threw it out there. It's out now. Nobody cares.
Mark is of the opinion that Sushi Striker is bombing horrendously and no one cares about it at all.
It's nowhere on the Switch eShops. And even in the expanded 30 game list. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, neither of us are super interested in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle Donkey Kong Adventure.
Also something that we saw at the Ubisoft conference.
June 26th. A game called PixArk, I think.
It looks like Minecraft, but crummier.
So it looks like Minecraft, but has the logo is very similar to the logo for Ark. So I feel like there is some synergy there that I don't understand.
We'll never know.
That comes out this fall. Just Dance 2018, which is not just coming out for the Switch, it's coming out for the Wii U and the Wii. October 23rd.
You keep going, Just Dance.
Dragon Ball Fighters comes out sometime this year. Interesting, this didn't get its own announcement or any sort of shout out. It was just
here it is. And it's another one that we saw in that same slide that had Fortnite and Overcooked 2.
Was this officially announced?
I don't
somewhere
think so.
Previously,
I think if this is what Nintendo if this is how they meant to break that news, it was a really
weird.
It was really dumb execution. Yeah.
Splatoon 2 Octo expansion still sometime this summer, undated. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker July 13th. Another game that was announced and I just totally forgot about.
Right. And are now not excited about it.
Crash Bandicoot, June 29th. Yeah, whatever. Ninjala, no clue. Comes out spring 2019.
This one is on the show floor at E3. I'm going to try to play it tomorrow.
FIFA 18 World Cup.
Which is available now.
And then FIFA 19 comes out September 28th. Ark comes out sometime this fall. Wasteland 2 comes out sometime this fall. Paladins is out now. That was another one that was a little bit weird. It's
a hero shooter, right?
It's a hero shooter, similar to Overwatch in the generalities of it. Right now, Paladins is not free to play, but so it's $30 and you get I can't remember what they call it, but basically you get every character and all that kind of stuff. A free to play version is coming later this summer. I'm interested in this, but I'm going to wait for the free-to-play version.
What was the name of the Overwatch-esque game that came out, right? That's it, Battleborn? Battleborn, that's right.
I played that at E3, the E3 that was revealed.
There we go.
Fallout Shelter, out now. Dark Souls Remastered, sometime this summer. SNK Heroines, September 7th. Monster Hunter Generation Ultimate, August 28th. Wolfenstein 2, June 29th. World Ends With You, fall 2018. Mega Man 11, fall.
Mario Tennis Aces.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of games in that sizzle reel, and you and I are over here being like, none of that's super new or surprising.
Right. Yeah. And
we're right.
It's our problem.
That's true. We are paying too much attention, and we are making other people pay as much attention. Mark, where part of the problem is what I'm saying. You want to move on to Smash Brothers?
Yeah. Okay. So the last, all of everything we just talked about, they blaze through in 20 minutes.
Blazing.
Smash Brothers.
Non-blazing.
Yeah. They're let's bring it down to a lower gear. Just kind of cruise.
Right. We were eating flaming hot Doritos before. Now we're eating Cool Ranch.
That's right.
So Super Smash Brothers. It is Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. We now know that every character that has ever been in Smash Brothers is now back in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, Ultimate is such like a fitting title. When we were kind of doing our predictions of what Smash Brothers for Switch might be, we were kind of guessing that it was going to be the Wii U and 3DS versions combined.
We were not ambitious enough.
No, in hindsight, it makes total sense that they would just be like, no, let's just kind of do it all.
Right. And, presented in a super exciting way where, it's Masahiro Sakurai, the developer, sitting in front of a camera and then being like, maybe this is what you want to see. And we're introduced to the characters one or two at a time. And they each have like a corresponding number for like when they were introduced to the series. And so it starts with Mario, who is number 1, of course. And then on to Samus, who is number 4. These numbers seem a little bit arbitrary, but okay. Because, like, why is she 4? They're both in the same first game, right? But it just...
Maybe they're going from, like, left to right on the, character select screen.
Yeah, or maybe it's just, like, alphabetically at that point. Or they go by the year in which their original game was released.
Well, I mean, the numbers are also arbitrary because they'll go from, like, 1 to 4 to 3 to, like, 67.
Skipped around like crazy. I believe the highest number we saw was 64.
I believe you're right.
On the Inkling. But so it was super cool to see all of these characters and all of these characters back. Young Link, the Pokemon trainer, Snake, Ice Climbers. Who am I missing?
I mean, it's every character.
It's every character.
Ever. Even if they just showed up in one game. That means there's, 4 versions of Link now?
I think just the 3, right? Link, Toon Link, and Young Link.
Yeah, that might be right.
And we've talked about this on our Smash Brothers episodes, but seeing like some of the redesigns and like some of their choices for the redesigns were really interesting. Link is obviously like the kind of vanilla Link is wearing his Breath of the Wild outfit. Ganon, it looks like Ocarina of Time Ganon, and Zelda looks like Link Between Worlds Zelda.
Or Twilight Princess.
Is it? I thought it was the Link Between Worlds model.
You might be right.
I think I am. Mario obviously has Cappy now. And yeah, it's cool to see all this stuff getting that sort of update like we've been talking about.
Yeah, so kind of it seems like what they did to not make development easy, but to facilitate development in like a reasonable manner so Sakurai doesn't die trying to make Smash Brothers games.
He may still. The game's not out yet.
Is that they just took everything that had previously been in a Smash Brothers game and tweaked it and updated it.
Yeah.
And so that way they kind of like split the difference between
is it new or is it a port?
Yes, it's both.
It's both. It's both and all of these things. Yeah, and I like the distinction that they made in here of echo characters that are effectively the same character but with just like slightly different attributes. One of the things that people were like, about on the last version was like Pit and Dark Pit. Is that necessary? Their moves are a little bit different, but mostly they're the same character. The same is true of Lucina and Marth, that they are effectively the same character, but their stats are different, or like she swings the sword a little bit faster or something like that. And that is just now part of like the game's DNA, that there are these echo versions of characters, to wit, Daisy is in this game.
Right, as an echo version of Princess Peach.
Right. So, still, there's always been like sort of an alternate costume version of Peach that looks like Daisy, but now like just straight up the character is Daisy, has a different voice set, and presumably controls at least a little bit differently.
Yeah. They've also done interesting things. They're not like echoes, but it's like Marth or Ike or something has 2 different versions, including like 2 different voice acting.
Yeah, and the same is true also of Cloud has his Final Fantasy VII costume and his Advent Children costume, which he had in the Wii U version. Ditto Bayonetta has her 1 and 2 costumes, and it seems like all of that sort of stuff. They said about Bayonetta that like the sound effects for depending on which costume she's wearing are a little bit different. So like the game has bells and whistles.
Yeah, the attention to detail that we expect
yeah,
is
it's
there.
there.
It also seems like they're taking pains to reduce friction in the game. So
Absolutely.
they talk about potentially starting with the original N64 roster, but that they want to streamline the process for getting new characters.
Yeah.
So that way, new fighters are always being added to your roster.
Which is always the most exciting thing, right?
Yeah.
The most exciting thing in Smash is when you unlock a new character or like you're thrown into that like thing where you have to like win a fight to get the new character. That's so cool and so much fun. And like if they're just gonna do that to roll out like 70 characters or something, like I am in. Mark, do you think that there is no standalone Charizard in this game? If the Pokemon trainer is back?
No, I think the standalone Charizard would have to be in it, right? Because it's every character ever.
I mean, I guess, but if he's part of the Pokemon trainer,
You
which,
can
by the way, you can now play as a lady Pokemon trainer.
They do that for Pikachu as well. You can be
Yes.
a lady Pikachu.
Um,
But yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if you have Charizard in Pokemon Trainer and then you also just can play as
have a
Charizard.
standalone
Yeah,
Charizard.
why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if everyone is here, then yeah, let's bring it on.
They also took great pains to bring up that final smashes are more streamlined now across the board. They should be a little bit faster.
Mm-hmm. And these are the final smashes are the sort of like super moves that like clear everything out and are momentary automatic win buttons. And sometimes I guess in the past they've been too like they take up too much time or like are too intrusive or something. And it seems like they're like, look, you know what Captain Falcon's final smash looks like. It's just gonna happen once and be like fun and fast, and the gameplay won't be interrupted. All of which is good. New characters. We saw 2 new characters, excluding Daisy.
Right. Inkling,
Mm-hmm.
which we knew about because that was from the initial reveal.
Right. And Ridley.
They're finally doing
Yep.
it. This game is just giving the people what they want.
I mean, to truly give the people what they want means we got to put a Waluigi in this game. And he is shown to be merely an assist trophy. So, look, we can never be happy, Mark, right? But yeah, Ridley, that's crazy. People have been asking for that character forever. And now here he is. Not too big anymore.
Not too big anymore. Ice climbers are back, of course.
Right, Snake. Did we already say we kind of listed some of them? And then just like all of the old stages that Shadow Moses Island from Metal Gear is back, and all of this stuff. Mark, how are you feeling about what the new Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? How are you feeling about it right now?
I feel great. Here's the thing: is that I would have bought this game no matter what. Like I didn't
Great
need
point.
to know anything about this game, and I was going to buy it. And so, much as I enjoy Smash Brothers, 25-ish minutes of detailing the minutia in the changes to Smash Brothers, it was a lot for me. Like I kind of tuned out after a little bit.
Yeah, and had we gotten this in September as part of our Smash Brothers Direct, fine, right? Like that would have been a thing that you would have sat down quiet and just be like, "This is a Direct. I'm watching it. I love it." Instead of like, "This is E3. Everything is guns and excitement," and now here's you can attack people on ladders now.
That being said, it looks awesome.
It does. It looks super great. I wish we knew a little bit more information about like how the game, like what the game modes were. We don't know anything about that.
We don't
now.
know. Yeah, they didn't mention like online play at all.
They didn't mention online play. They did show that like the 8-player match is still a
back.
thing. But beyond that, like nothing.
And like you said, I'm sure that as we get closer to release in December,
right,
so
December 7th,
we were wrong.
Pearl Harbor Day.
I thought that it was for sure going to come out in September with the Nintendo Switch Online service, but no, it's Nintendo's big like December game. And so between now and December is a lot of time.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I am sure we'll learn more about it in the future.
Yeah, I even sort of expected to at some point during the day-to-day on like Treehouse Live to see like other character announcements. I have, since I was at E3, not really been paying attention, but as far as we can tell right now, we don't have any information about new characters. But by the time you listen to this on Wednesday or Thursday, that may have changed. Who knows? All right, Mark, that's the Nintendo Direct. We were a little bit grumpy about it, but now we've also just talked about how much stuff there was in it for the last almost hour. So I think we're wrong, and we don't know how we feel about anything.
That sounds about right.
All right, let's close this out. That is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, if you want to see us perform a live show of this, what you just heard, but like live,
It's like vaudeville.
It is.
And radio.
Mark and I will be doing a lot of old pratfalls. I'm bringing my cane and my suit with tails, and we'll do some very funny old
We'll
comedy.
eat soup out of bowler hats.
You won't believe what you see. Wednesday night at the Impro in Los Angeles. It's on Vermont. We don't know the address.
Google it.
Google it.
I don't have to tell you this.
8:30. We're there with the Unranked podcast. It's going to be a good show. $5 at the door. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell. The show is at Nincart Society.
And hey, maybe shoot us an email. What did you think about Nintendo's E3? Were we a little too hard on it?
Yeah, or any thoughts on the E3 presentations. I think it was an interesting year for presentations. I would like to know what people thought generally.
Yeah, try to convince me Death Stranding isn't so stupid.
Try to convince Mark. Please try to convince Mark. And look, we know Resident Evil 2 is coming to PlayStation, and we are very excited about it. But this is a Nintendo show. We're only talking about Nintendo stuff here. You can send your thoughts to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we'll, shoot you an email back or talk about it on the show, or I don't know what. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, we write about comic books on retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. If you like 8-Bit Betty's music, you can get more of it by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers conceding that Death Stranding does look pretty dumb. Thanks for listening.
Campfire.